So our next speaker, actually, she's traveled all over the world for her STEM career. So please welcome Martina Magli. Hello.
Hi.
So Martina is originally from Italy, and she is an economist. She has a bachelor and master in engineering, and she completed her PhD at the University of Nottingham in the UK. Currently, she's a member of the junior faculty at the LMU Munich, but also in the past, she has worked for Gucci. But today, she's going to talk to you about trade services and discuss whether they are good or bad.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I'm Martina, and I'm an economist at LMU Munich. And today, I'm going to present you my research on trading services. I know what you're thinking now. Oh, no, another economist telling me how much I should worry about the economy, how everything's going to look bad. But don't worry. Today, I'm not going to bore you with that. But I will use the COVID-19 pandemic to explain you my research. So during the lockdown, how many of you have downloaded or bought a video of someone on his or her apartment in California teaching you meditation or yoga? Or how many of you has bought a subscription on Disney+? Well, what do you think that is in economics? The answer, this is my business, it's not an answer for economists because everything is our business. Without you knowing, you are trading in services. What I do in my research is I try to understand what is the effect of trading services. So let's start with the example of Disney+. And I will use some pluses and some minuses. So when you were in your living room watching some cartoons, you were saving money because you're not going to the cinema and you are able to watch more than one movie. So the cinema in your little hometown has lost some money because of that. Most than anything, you are not buying any popcorn or Coca-Colas or whatever you buy when you go to the cinema, which is another minus for the little theater. But now that the lockdown is ended and probably the little cinema or another cinema is going to offer you an open-air show, you will totally go, even if it's more expensive because you save some money. But let's move now to the yoga example. Again, with the lockdown, you finally have your yoga studio in your living room, which is probably cheaper than the other yoga studio. So with the money that you save, you can finally go to the 3 days yoga retreat in the Italian Alps that you always want to go, but you didn't have the money for that. What about your old yoga studio? Well, you're probably not going to renew the subscription, and they have to fire probably some yoga teacher. Or maybe not, because the same yoga studio is going to offer you some yoga classes online, which you will be following because you prefer that, and you can have some Zoom coffee with your yogi friends after that. So as you see, trading services, some pluses, some minuses. What we care is usually the overall effect. And that's what I do in my career, in my research, which is also my career. And you don't even know that you are trading in services because we don't really talk much about trading services. What I focus most in my career is what firms do with trading services. But this is really boring, and I'm really not going to tell you what it's about. But I have a challenge for you. So tomorrow, try to think about how many times per day you trade in services. And I give you a little hint. When you travel and tourism, that is totally trading services.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Thank you very much. I think you've sparked some interest in some budding economists on the social media, I see. I didn't really know that the trading services would be affected so much during the corona crisis. It just didn't sort of cross my mind with everything going on. But we've got a bunch of questions flying in about your topic, Martina. I hope you're ready. So the first one is, first of all, it's a personal question, I guess. So what have you done when working with Gucci, and how is this connected to economics?
Okay, I was working at Gucci not as an economist. I was working at Gucci as an engineer, and I was working in the project management. But it was very helpful because basically everything that I've learned working in a big firm is very helpful in my research to understand how firms collect the data and some of the dynamics of the production process. Mm-hmm. But I'm using too many technical words here. So, okay. So it was very helpful, but it's not related to economics.
Okay.
But it helped me to clarify my idea of what I want to do with my life.
That's great. Yeah. It's good to try these different paths for a while and put yourself back on track. So another question from Jane. Where do you get the data sets you use for your research? And is it difficult to gain access to this information, or is it freely available?
So the information on trading services between countries are free available for everybody. Actually, you can go to website of big organization and play around with the data or some graphs. Like there's the OECD website, the OECD.
OECD.
Easier word, World Bank website.
Okay.
The World Bank website. Also, you can play around. But the data that I actually used come from the United Kingdom, which was my home until last year. And they are very sensitive data, and they're not available to everybody.
Okay.
And they're firm-level data, so I can only use them when I'm in the UK.
Okay.
And I see what the firm do with these services.
Okay. Another question on YouTube from Samath. Is economics a zero-sum game?
No.
I'm not sure I understood the question, to be honest, so maybe you can elaborate on what he means by zero-sum game for the rest of the viewers.
So if the zero sum means that like we sum like the pluses and the minuses of before, we have to be zero, that is not the case. Also, I will simplify a bit. There might be more pluses than minus, and more maybe the pluses are distributed differently than the minus.
Okay.
If that is the question. But there's always more than one answer in economics, I would say.
Okay.
Depending on the point of view that you look at.
So is it like more than one answer because you discuss it, or is it because it's based on numbers?
Because you discussed it, and because it's based on numbers.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's see the next question then. How does your everyday work life as an economist look like? Sorry.
So you woke up, you have breakfast. No, okay.
No, yeah, go into it. We got some time.
No, what I do in my daily life is I go to university and I play with the data. So I play with numbers, because the method that I'm using to study this effect of trading services are statistical methods. So I need the computer, which is a powerful computer, to elaborate a lot of data, and that's what I do, basically, most of the day. But also, an economist, you tend to have a lot of conferences or presentation, because they're actually when you learn what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right, when you present with other researcher. So I would say that usually every day you have one presentation and you discuss your work.
Every day?
If you want, yes.
Wow.
Or you can always say like, oh, I'm busy.
Okay. So it's kind of nice to come to an environment like this instead of a formal presentation, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little bit more stressful. I'm honest.
Okay, some more questions here. Do you already have some numbers on how much the virus has changed trading services?
Personally, no, because there's always a bit of delay between the information that you have at the firm level data to the actual year. So usually you obtain information that are 2 years old or 3 years old. That's because it takes a lot of time to collect this information and to make that available to researcher. But at the aggregate level, there's been already a slowdown of trading services. I'm not going to say the actual number because I might be very wrong. Okay. So I don't want to risk it to say a wrong number, but they've been down. Not as much as trading manufacturing, though. So
trading manufacturing was worse than, so goods was worse than the services?
Tends to be, yes. Okay. Also for the recession that we had in 2008, when I say manufacturing, I mean like, clothes or cars and so on.
Stuff that you buy.
Exactly. They went down more than the services.
Huh. Okay. So another question here. When we go back to your talk, Mara's asking on Facebook. In both cases, you gave a demonstration. The part losing most money is very small to an entrepreneur. Is this a general trend, at least during the crisis?
So the small entrepreneurs are going to be affected more than the big firms? If that is the question? Sorry?
Yeah, I think so. It's if there's a smaller loss for entrepreneurs compared to larger firms.
Well, it depends how they reacted, right, during the crisis. Whether they adapted to the new situation, as I said, the example of the yoga studio.
Yeah.
So if you have a very small yoga studio, but we reacted quickly and you start offering the yoga online, well, the loss was not that big. It's also it's a matter of like reaction and how quickly you react, using the very simplified example that I gave to you. So in the case that I gave, if the yoga studio was quick, would have some losses, but not as severe as if you just shut down.
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, the other option was shutting down, not having any business.
Yeah,
because
that's completely terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So another question, maybe for one of the budding economists out there, from Isabel on YouTube. They ask, what is the direct impact of your findings as an economist, and who do you personally report to?
So, personal report, so my data, because they're from the UK and there are official statistic data, of course, whenever when I finish some results, I present them to them, and then they can use it. And as any researcher, we want to publish, right? So I report to the editor of the journal, begging for a publication. Okay. No, apart from that, so the impact of my research is informative, basically. It's informative for policymakers, both for those policymakers that are involved in the trade minister, but also on trade negotiation, which is something very actual nowadays. So before having a trade agreement, there's a lot of negotiation going on, which goes on for years.
Oh,
so with my
for years?
For years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But you see, like in 2020, we had a trade policy between country A and country B. Maybe it's already 5 years they've been negotiating, even longer. Yeah.
Can you think of any famous examples right now?
The European Union. There's any easier example on that? There's other more recent. So, for instance, another recent example is the trade discussion, the trade negotiation between the UK and the European Union for the Brexit. Exactly. So my research is actually very related to that, because I show what are the effects of trading services for UK firms. So UK policymaker, if by chance they see my paper, are informed by that.
Huh, okay. So another user on YouTube is asking for a real answer from your title of your talk. He said, they said, is trade in services good or bad? But I think, I think you have an answer to that.
It's both good and bad. Yeah. It's both good and bad. The thing is, that's the thing. And I think that's what is the beauty of economics. That's what is fascinating.
It's always up for discussion, right?
It's up for discussion. There's always up for discussion. And there is some stuff that you can be sure that is a plus. For instance, you're saving money in some stuff, like as a consumers. And that is definitely a plus. But that's as a minus because, as I said before, you're probably not going to buy from your local shop as you did before. But what is the overall? Well, that we need to ask the data.
Okay. So another question from Facebook. As an economist, do you feel that these new products and services that appeared during the COVID-19 time will be enough to balance those companies that unfortunately failed?
That's the hope for everybody, I guess. But for that, we need time, because we need to see how long they will last, if they will last, and those who were lost, who were closed down, whether they close down permanently or simply for a period, and they need a little bit longer to recover. I think, like, to make a final sum, it's a little bit too early.
So when do you reckon that you will come up with an answer to these? Well, it depends, I guess, how fast the vaccine.
Yeah, but for the first impact, 1 year from now, I would say. Not me, but or maybe me, I don't know.
Good luck, I hope so. So another question on Facebook is from Jane, and they ask, historically, what cultural shifts have had the greatest impact on trade in services? So even before the COVID-19 times, what was the biggest cultural shift?
With the culture, I would say technological shift, it's what really changed trading services. Because suddenly we had internet, we had new telecommunication system, and then we were able to trade services across country. You could sell your software from Ireland and send it to Vietnam. And that it was only available once you had internet or you had communication. Or you could give a consultancy a company once Skype was invented. So you could sit in Australia and give a consultancy in California, for instance.
So that's just how our viewers at home can be sat in South Africa or Toronto and...
That's totally trading services. If you make it pay, this is trading services.
Okay. Another question. What are the key measures we should take to safeguard ourselves for future economic crises?
Oh, wow. That's a very hard question. This is not for an economist. This is for a policymaker, I think.
Okay. So how, maybe you can say in other words what this question is asking.
So if he's asking whether we should be keeping open an economy in terms of trade, let me talk about trade, which is my main field.
Okay.
That's what I'm strong in. So the research is showing you that if you keep trade open and without closing yourself in a moment of a crisis, that is helping the economy to recover.
Okay.
So like in the time of the crisis like that, you should avoid the tendency to close from foreign trade, or because if you close from foreign trade, that means you don't have imports, but you don't have export either, and that is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. And a crisis like this was unseen, right? Because it was a pandemic, so it was not much from an economic point of view. What you can do is just to make it feel like less the effect on the economy.
Okay.
But it's not created by the economy as it was in 2008. So economists can just save it, but they didn't cause it, which is different from 2008.
Okay. So another question from Liliana. Why is stock trade such an important measure of a country's economic state? These questions aren't easy for you, are they?
Not at all. I wish I had them before.
I tell you, we've got some budding economists sitting watching at home.
And then I'll have some other economists in the department tomorrow and be like, are you sure about your answer, Martina? So basically, the stock market, the way that it's a measure of the trust of the stock market on that economy. So when you hear, for instance, that Italy has been devaluated in the stock market because like the bond Italy are going down, usually it's because you're comparing the Italian bond market with the German bond market.
Okay.
Which I have to explain what bond market is.
Bond market. Yeah.
So basically, it's when the countries are asking some money in the stock market, just to borrow money, and then they promise to give back this money with some interest. Okay. So
like a loan.
It's like a loan, exactly. But they ask the loan to the consumers, to all the consumers that are interested they're investing in the financial sector.
Okay.
So basically, when the value of this bond goes down, and they say like a judgment to Italy, it's not a judgment to Italy, it's a judgment of how much trust that is on the Italian economy compared to the German economy. That's its why. So that's what it's telling you. It's
sort of based on the previous reputation as well.
It is based on the previous reputation and what's going on in the country in that particular moment.
Okay.
So that's why if it's the question on the stock market as a measure of an economy. But also the stock market, if it's not the bond market, but it's on the firms, it's like how well are the firms from that country performing in the stock market. So if it performs better, usually has a higher value in the stock market.
Okay.
It's a little bit more complicated than that, but let's keep it simple.
I'm sure if you guys want any more information, you can contact Martina. But I think we're running out of time now, so I'd like to say thank you again.
Thank you so much.
And have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Well, folks, if you enjoyed Martina's talk and you want to ask more questions to her, please don't hesitate. She's on Twitter and LinkedIn, so you can ask her more very difficult questions. Why not?